First of all, just tell us about your district. We just put a map up showing it's basically in and around Cincinnati. Tell us about this district. What's the nature of it, the people in it?
Yeah, this district is a proud district, home of the Cincinnati Reds and Cincinnati Bengals. It includes a lot of Cincinnati, the western part of Hamilton County, and all of Warren County. We're proud to have some incredible companies here: Procter & Gamble, GE Aviation, Kroger, and Fifth Third. And this is also a working class and middle class district. People are incredibly concerned about the skyrocketing cost of prescription drugs and the fact that premiums are going up and up and up, and the fact that middle-class families and working-class families here in the 1st District haven't had a real raise in nearly 20 years when compared to inflation.
So going back through history, looking at how presidents fared in your district, it appears that more often than not it went Republican, the exception being President Obama running against Mr. McCain. But President Trump was 6 points above Hillary Clinton in the last election. Does it tend to be a Republican district, and does that give you an uphill battle?
Yeah, we've got to be eyes wide open about this. This district was drawn to elect a Republican. Gerrymandering is rampant here in the state of Ohio. But the reason why this race is so competitive, the reason why we're confident we will ultimately prevail, is because when I'm out in the district talking to voters in Mason or Cheviot, Lebanon or Westwood, people view D.C. and our system of government as broken and toxic. They view the career politicians like my opponent, Steve Chabot, who's been in Congress for 22 years with very little to show for it. They view them as the status quo and the establishment. Chabot has had his chance. He's had 2 decades to fix our health care system, to do anything for middle-class and working-class families. And unfortunately, he's fallen well short with very little to show for it. That's why people are so desperate for change. We're offering them an optimistic, substantive vision of government where people can come together, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, come together and create meaningful solutions for the issues that are facing the people of the 1st District.
Okay, it appears that Mr. Cook, the Cook report, has actually moved you maybe toward a toss-up. It's a closer race than some might think. But the Virginia Center for Politics has listed what the issues are for you. And now this is not scientific. It's according to social media in your district. And I must say, Mr. Trump personally, it's right up there, way above every other issue. Is that your experience?
My experience in this race is that it's not about President Trump. It's not about President Obama. It is about Representative Chabot's record on the issues. The #1 issue facing my constituents is access to affordable and quality health care. In my district, premiums for individuals have gone up nearly $1,000. For families, it's nearly $3,000. And Chabot voted several times to take coverage away from those with pre-existing conditions, things like breast cancer, things like childbirth and asthma, which would affect 305,000 people in my district. He voted to take health care away from 35,000 people in my district with no real plan on how to replace it. You know, David, that's not political or partisan. That's just irresponsible. And people are tired of that status quo politics. They're tired of career politicians who go to Washington and make decisions and take votes based on what's going to get them reelected rather than what's going to help the people of the 1st District. That's why so many people, no matter of their ideology, are so ready for change.
So, Aftab, does that mean you run in favor of Obamacare? Do you embrace Obamacare and say this is a good thing? Because what you described as some things the Republicans tried to get done. Sometimes they got done. A lot of things they didn't get done and taking it back away. But is Obamacare popular with the voters in your district?
Yeah, without question, the Affordable Care Act was a positive step in the right direction, but it has its flaws. As I just mentioned, premiums are going up and up. The cost of prescription drugs are skyrocketing. But instead of rolling up their sleeves, our leaders in Washington, D.C. have done their level best for the past 2 years to sabotage the Affordable Care Act, to sabotage families like Colleen Bowman and her daughter, Ella. Ella was diagnosed with a melanoma at the age of 7. She bravely battled back and was able to prevail and now is a cancer survivor. But because of the last 2 years of trying to undermine the Affordable Care Act, Colleen, her mom, and Ella, the child, are constantly worrying about whether or not they're going to lose their coverage. And if they lose their coverage, how they're going to possibly get it back, because, of course, Ella has this pre-existing condition. They've reached out to Representative Chabot's office over and over again, and all they get is a form letter. Ella now in high school has to worry about homework. She has to worry about homecoming dance, and she also worries about bankrupting her family. David, this isn't about politics. This is about going to Washington to make a real difference in real people's lives, like Colleen and Ella. And Steve Chabot has had his chance for 2 decades, and unfortunately, we have very little to show for it.
Finally, Aftab, talk to me about support for your campaign. I mean financial support. To what extent is the Democratic Party or people more broadly supporting your campaign? What's the money difference between you and your rival?
This is a grassroots campaign. I'm proud of the fact that I have not and will not take any corporate money. Our campaign is being funded by individuals who are ready for change, who are frustrated that the middle class hasn't had a meaningful wage increase in 20 years, while the rich folks in our country continue to get richer. Instead of addressing that wage inequality, Steve Chabot voted for this tax bill that gives 85% of the benefit to the richest 1%, while blowing a $2 trillion hole in the deficit, which now puts Social Security and Medicare at risk, asking working class and middle class families to pay for a tax break for billionaires and millionaires. People in my district just see as unfair. They want a new brand of politics. We're offering a generational change, a new generation of leadership that is more interested in driving results for the people of my district than it is in getting reelected, that is more interested in bringing people together for common sense solutions than it is in dividing us. Status quo politics is over in my district, and on November, that's why we're so confident we're going to prevail.